Yeah, we got lots to say. Now here's Bobby and Matt.
Hey everybody, welcome. We are getting an episode in before Thanksgiving, which feels good. Well, this show comes out on a Wednesday, so what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
I'm going to be out in California with the family.
You guys have Thanksgiving out there?
We do. It's shockingly, even with the weather still being like 70 degrees and sunny, it doesn't feel like the holiday season.
I'd like to say no place that doesn't get below 50, you shouldn't have Thanksgiving. I would.
That's your rule?
That's my rule. If it doesn't get below, it doesn't have to be below 50 on Thanksgiving, but if your city never gets below 50, you should not get to celebrate Thanksgiving.
Well, they got the La Nina out there right now, so maybe they do drop temperatures and it'll get to like 49 in the morning.
It's acceptable, but until you
But then it's going to go back up.
Yeah, what do you guys do? Like, what's the tradition?
You know what? The last few years, my wife's been taking the kids out there because I'm normally traveling for season, but I happen to have a game out there. We've got Washington at UCLA this weekend prior to Thanksgiving. So I'm just going to stay out there, and my whole family's coming out on Friday. So we get together, we see both sides of the family. We'll probably do a Thanksgiving on Wednesday, and then my wife's staying for Thursday. I've got to go actually back to New York to go do studio Friday.
Brutal flight.
Yes, and then guess what? I'm coming right back.
That
for USC UCLA.
Do they at least give you a lay down bed?
No, it's just Southwest probably. I don't know.
LA, New York?
No, I have no idea what they're flying me out on.
Oh my God.
Yeah, haven't got that far ahead yet. So it's going to be a lot of travel, but
yeah,
it is what it is. What are you doing?
We're going to go to Oklahoma. OKLAHOMA. I don't even sing it right. Stupid song plays all the time because Oklahoma's actually good at football. It sucks.
They are good.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah,
it doesn't suck. I root for them because of my father-in-law, not because of my wife. I want everybody to know this. I root for them because of my father-in-law, because I am happy when he is happy. My wife rubs it in.
Oh, she talks a little smack.
Well, we're not good.
Yeah, that's true.
Arkansas's not good.
It's really just an easy target at that point.
And she's like, oh, I wonder what it's like to have to wait for a game that's at 6, but you already know you're out of it, kind of stuff.
So that burns deep too.
So my guts are all confused on who to root for and not, but I do root for them because I want my father-in-law to feel good. So, but they play that song all the time. OKLAH. I don't know how it goes, but we'll go to Oklahoma and we'll go to Fayetteville. We'll do both.
You'll do both?
Yeah, and luckily they're close, so we'll do that and eat food and come back home. But it won't be anything crazy. My wife's very pregnant, so it's not like we can do a lot.
You're not going to do much, but you're going to eat some food and hang out and be merry.
And watch football.
Watch football 100%.
We have Scott Porter coming up in a second. So Scott Porter was in Friday Night Lights, and I got to admit this. Now, I've never seen an episode.
Really? Don't tell him that.
I won't. And when he comes on, we just finished the interview. When they were there, I remember them being there, and I'd probably interviewed him a time or two, but I've never seen an episode of Friday Night Lights, and I'm not anti-Friday Night Lights. I never watched it new. Then when it got old, I had other shows I wanted to watch.
Yeah, it's a good binge watch, to be honest. They do a good job with the characters and all that stuff. It's entertaining, a lot of drama, mixed in with some football. So, I mean, I've watched some episodes. My wife...
Have you not seen every episode?
No, not at all.
Oh, I figured
my wife,
seen it all.
I think, seen every season. She used to binge watch. So, like, if you come in and see the treadmill rolling, the Peloton over there, and she's walking it out, she was, for months on end, was watching Friday Night Lights.
Kevin, you watch it?
I didn't watch all of it, but I watched some of it. But the movie's my top 3 movie of all time.
The movie's awesome.
Yeah, but the show I've watched, I think maybe one season.
My morning show people, they think it's their favorite show, all of them, and they're all like, "You should. It's still so great." And so he played Jason Street. He was the quarterback that was in the wheelchair.
Yep.
Yes.
He was basically Drake and Degrassi.
Dang,
you went there.
What?
No, I was like, dang, that's a good one. That's a good poll.
Yeah,
that's why I said,
never
dang,
watched
you went there.
Degrassi either. I mean, I just know that Drake was in a wheelchair and Degrassi.
When you said dang, I was like, I don't even know what he's referencing, so I'm just going to go with, dang, you went there. Maybe that'll spark something.
You did it. We can't believe you did it.
You're like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't really know.
He's not going to remember this. Well, we just talked to him, so I'm kind of acting like we haven't talked to him yet. But I did a movie called Band Slam where I had 9 lines.
Was he in any of the scenes?
Yes, briefly in one. But I had my own trailer. Like, I was fringe principal.
Okay.
So I was considered a principal. I was on the sheet, and they gave me a trailer because I had to work like 3 days on set. I'm not an actor. I've never claimed to be an actor. I never really wanted to be an actor. And I've ended up acting a bit. Like I've done like 3 episodes of Nashville, but I've played different people on that show. If you look, because that show's on Netflix now, Nashville.
Okay.
At first, I'm like a random reporter who's like, hey, the parallel is Connie Britton's in both shows.
Okay.
She plays Raina James in Nashville, and she's the mom in Friday Night Lights, I believe, right?
Yes.
So I play reporter in the first episode. And then in another episode, I'm like somebody else. But then at the end...
Totally different character?
Yeah. But at the end, I'm playing...
Changes makeup.
I'm playing myself.
Really?
And I have real lines with Raina James.
Oh, that's cool. At least you get to play yourself.
Yeah, it wasn't any easier.
It wasn't?
No, because it was weird. That's not what I do.
Right.
And so all the cameras, and you're working with real actors, and they're doing their thing, and all you don't want to do is you just don't want to mess it up.
Did you ever mess up your line and you're like...
I don't know that I messed it up, but I don't know that I was good at it. But this movie Band Slam that we did with Vanessa Hudgens and Phoebe from Friends, Lisa Kudrow.
Oh, yeah.
I had 9 lines. I think I had like 14, but they cut five of them.
Okay. So basically you crushed.
It was fine. I didn't wear my glasses, and I had a white, like curly haired afro. That was my normal hair back then.
Really?
Yeah, it gets real curly.
Come on.
So that's what I know Scott from. But Scott's a big Broncos fan. So yeah, let's go. All right. Hey, Scott, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, good to see you. Long time.
Why do you say long? We were just talking about this. Why do you say long time?
Because Austin, Texas, we talked way back when Friday Night Lights was first coming out.
Okay. I had yes, Austin, Texas is correct. I have a slightly different version of that story, but that's absolutely true because they filmed that in Austin when I was living there. I forgot all about that.
That's right. Did you go out to the set?
No, I never went to the set, but
I thought they would use your athletic
you
prowess.
thought that'd be a player like Scott.
Be one of the guys that,
I had 9 lines in a movie called Band Slam, which you were like the star of the movie. You and Vanessa Hudgens were like the stars of that movie. And so, all of my scenes were like at theater on campus, and I was like, I don't know if Scott's going to remember me, but hey, here we are.
And he obviously didn't.
I 100% do remember that. I was just going back even further because we had chatted a couple of times prior to that. You're an Austin legend. So
good to see you, buddy. I see Longhorn stuff behind you, and now I lived in Austin for 13 years, and it's my favorite city. Like it is my favorite city, but I'm from Arkansas, so we hate the Longhorns. So why do you have Longhorn stuff behind you?
My wife was actually a cheerleader at the University of Texas. She was there the years that VY was there, and she actually cheered in the national championship game. Vince
Young, the USC, the USC. Matt Castle.
I wasn't there. I was a year after. I thought I was going to make a lot of money in the locker room, and I sure didn't. That was brutal. I also see you're looking like a coach here. I mean, you've got the Broncos swag on. You ready to roll? So obviously you're a Broncos fan. Big win this last weekend. Probably the biggest since what? Peyton Manning era?
Yeah, I would say, man. I mean, getting that big of a lead in the AFC West against that good of a team, even still, the Chiefs, I know they haven't been putting it together, in all 3 phases this season. That defense is still very good. When Chris Jones is motivated, they're still very dangerous, and Pat Mahomes is still the best in the game. So to get that win, get a cushion in the AFC West, angling for some home field advantage where you can actually play a game or 2 in Mile High, it was huge. But yeah, massive Broncos fan, have been all my life, from Nebraska originally, and when you live in Omaha, Nebraska, you're a free agent, proximity, Chiefs, Broncos, Bears-ish, and there's Cowboys fans everywhere. So, but I grew up watching Elway play in the 80s, lose a lot of games, but just play with moxie that I'd never seen before. So yeah, Broncos fan my whole life.
Evaluate Bo Nix's performance this year as a fan.
Well, I don't want to be Dragon Slayer 69 hiding in the basement of his mom's house drinking drinking his Mountain Dew like Adam Troutman said. But, at the end of the day, I think everything that Bo has said is what a lot of people are seeing. Feet are moving a lot. He's, running out and back from danger, throwing off his back foot a lot. And in Sean Payton's office, you really need to be able to hit these middle deep ends, these, outbreaking routes, these corners, to get past that press cover 2 coverage that a lot of people will like to run on him because, he likes to get the ball out to the flats and likes to run a lot of screen game. So you've got to be able to hit that mid-level throw, and Bo has missed it a lot this year, but he hit it in a big moment in this last game, dropping one into Troy Franklin, over the corner, under the safety, setting up the final field goal. So for me, it's just, for some reason, it seems like there's a clarity for Bo in the fourth quarter of games. And I just, as a Broncos fan, I think I speak for all of Broncos country, we'd love to just see that clarity for 4 quarters, but hopefully we can keep pulling it out. Hopefully he keeps on taking a step forward. But, he said this last week, I got to settle my feet down. I got to make sure that I'm planting, and then I'm giving what the defense gives me. And he played a heck of a game this last week against the Chiefs. That defense is no slouch. So, Bo is what I do love about Bo, and what I see from the players, is that they believe in him, that he is their quarterback, and they know they will go to war and win with him. They don't feel like they're dragging him anywhere. They just feel like this is a complete team game, and defense is stepping up and doing its job. And, if Bo keeps that locker room in that way, I think this team's got a chance.
So you basically hate Bo Nix until the fourth quarter is what you're telling me.
I don't hate Bo Nix at all, ever. We Bo leave, baby. But at the end of the day, it's, the week before, 10-7 against the Raiders team that you see Dallas just tear apart on Monday Night Football this week. And the games have been like that consistently, I mean, 7 3-and-outs against that Raiders defense, a turnover against that Raiders defense. You only get 13 drives in the game, and you've only got 5 to go get some points, and you only get 10 against the Raiders. I mean, it's tricky. It's really tough, and that game was in the balance until the fourth quarter. And you can look at the way that we've been winning this year. It's all 1-score games, and a lot of that is just because the offense just does not want to move the ball in the first half of the game, and I don't know who that falls on. I just know what I'm seeing. And I watch every single moment of every single one of these games. You can go back and look back against the Texans. I mean, it's the same story over and over again. Hopefully we can just start fast here after we get this bye week coming up, and just be a quick starting team the rest of the year. But no, man, we love Bo. I think he's a really, as long as he settles his accuracy down, he's a great fit for what Peyton wants to do, and the rest of the offense believes in him. So
I think this is the part of the interview where we actually declare that Scott knows ball, because we don't always know.
I was going to say, I am thoroughly impressed with his knowledge.
With actors and musicians, Scott, we kind of wade in with them to see. We never want to go over their head. Or Scott knows ball, so I feel like we can talk about anything.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Now we go, though, to the questions about movies and TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you find that young kids are recognizing you from Friday Night Lights even now because maybe they're just starting to watch it streaming?
It is, streaming extended the life of Friday Night Lights in a big way. And I don't think any of us expected it to be handed down generationally the way that it is currently. And when I was growing up, I don't know that there was a lot of shows that my folks were able to hand down to me, just because it was harder to ever find those unless somebody decided to put, Cheers on VHS, or some, late 80s, early 90s show like Coach on DVD. Like, I would never have seen these shows. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of really impactful television from back in the day that you can start to finally watch now. And I think that's really, really cool. Friday Night Lights was kind of right on the cusp of that. I remember we were one of the first shows that NBC actually put up on their website. You could stream it on the website, which was, that was crazy for us in 2006. And seeing where it's at now, where it's on like 4 different streaming services, it's just so easy to say, hey, this show that a lot of these people loved 20 years ago, and maybe their kids were too young to watch at the time, and now they're watching, with their kids. It's awesome, man. It's really, really a cool thing to see. And so, yeah, I would expect that Jason Street eventually would not be a character that as many young kids recognize. But I have a lot of and the fan base is really cool, because when they come up, they always come up with like a measure of respect, and they're really heartfelt in the way they speak about the show, which is not the same way that all fan bases are with other shows. But they're a really respectful fan base, even the younger kids. And we have really cool conversations about a show that was canceled twice and almost didn't make it past season 1 or season 2. And now it's had this lasting effect. So we have streaming to thank for that. And it's really cool.
Well, my wife's a big fan. I'm not going to lie. She watches that show religiously. If there's a moment where we get into the bed and we finally get to watch something late at night, she wants to watch that.
It's comfort. That's her comfort show.
That's her comfort show. I don't know if it was because she's an athlete or anything like that, but she loves the show and I love the show. So congratulations on that. But I want to talk about acting in general, just because I'm always fascinated by people that go into that profession because it's so competitive. And there's a lot of parallels in terms of playing in the NFL or what Bobby does, that it's super competitive and you got to go in, you got to nail something when you're going out for a specific role. But talk about what that's like for you to go in for a specific role and what that breakthrough moment was when you were younger.
For me, I was never in the line of thought that I would be an actor. I played football in high school and was an invited walk-on to the University of Central Florida. I played receiver, and I thought I would use athletics to help my academic, cost come down a little bit. I knew I was never going to be a pro, but I did. I ran a 4.55. I had good hands. I was all right. But at the end of the day, I went to school to be a structural engineer. My grandfather was an Air Force colonel, very much wanted me to be in the realm of academia. And my parents were very artistic. They had a rock band back in the 80s. I'd go and help my dad set up his drums and then spend the night like chilling with the bouncer playing foosball, or like falling asleep in the office manager's, office in some saloon in the middle of Nebraska when I was growing up. And, I had a little bit of the bug from them, but I always thought it'd be something that I do in my spare time, make a little cash here and there. That's what my parents did. That was their goal. And then things started to kind of break the right way for me. And I just kept saying yes. And for me, having the athletic background actually played huge into, moving into the world of acting, because every audition is a game in itself, right? And you don't stack yourself up against the other team, but you got to stack yourself up against yourself. You got to answer for every loss that you have. You have way more of them in this business. I think I've gone out for, 200 television pilots, and I booked 5 of them, and I'm a success. So it's even worse than baseball. The hitting percentages are kind of low, but you just got to keep on competing. And my first pilot season, I was told by somebody that I should just stay in the world of theater, because I was up in New York. I was doing an off-Broadway show. It was a bit of a hit. I got a singing voice from my mom and a sense of rhythm from my dad. So he's a drummer, and I was doing the live music thing. I had been having success, and somebody from Disney Theatricals told me when I said I wanted to try to, see if I could book a TV show, that I wouldn't amount to anything, that I'd just be the 4th guy on the left on some WB show and be quickly forgotten, and I should keep doing theater. And I took that as a big old, okay, just watch. Yeah, watch this. And I started really digging in, watching film, watching as many shows as I could, studying other actors, so there's that kind of element of, when you're breaking down a game versus what you're trying to do to prepare for an audition, and just got myself in the right mindset and went out and competed. And Friday Night Lights was the 5th pilot I ever went out for, and I knew that show was going to be special. And I just did my research, man. I went and watched that film over and over again. I've probably seen the film of Friday Night Lights, 50 times. And I just kind of knew what the film style was. I knew what they were aiming for. I knew what the performance level they were looking for was. And I just tried to deliver that set of plays when I walked into the room. And it worked out. And, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of parallels between the world of athletics and the world of artistry, especially in cinema, because you don't always find the coach or the right offensive fit for you. And it's the same thing in film. You don't always find the director or the right writer for you. But if you keep at it, maybe you'll end up in the right system. And luckily, I've been able to find the right systems.
I have some buddies here in town, because we live in Nashville. Some buddies in town that are artists, like Sam Hunt, who played college ball, played, a little in the NFL. Riley Green played college ball, but a lot of male artists, there's a lot of former athletes. And you look at your career, the juxtaposition of being able to sing, being able to do theater and act, also being a great athlete. And again, it seems like that juxtaposition, it feels odd because both usually don't happen at the same time. But what I've noticed with them is as well, and I've talked about this with them, is that a lot of what they learned in sports, like the dealing with adversity, it's what you just talked about, is actually what makes them a great artist because they can take a lot of the no's when they come to town. Work ethic is a massive part of it. So it's dealing with adversity, it's listening back, watching back tape, and then just continuing to go and grow. And I feel like that's kind of what you just said. But were you an athlete or a creative first?
I was an athlete first. I mean, I grew up, like I said, in Nebraska where, Husker football is your religion. The College World Series happened in Omaha where I was growing up. We went every single year. And, there was a drive that you learn through athletics that you can apply almost everywhere. There is a stick-to-itiveness that you have to learn, get knocked down, get back up, get knocked down, get back up. And I think a lot of people don't understand in the world of music or television, film, you get knocked down so much and you just have to be able to keep getting back up. And yeah, those parallels are all there. But I was athletic first, and I was also academic first. I took AP courses in high school and college, AP Calc and AP Physics, and set myself up, like I said, to be a structural engineer. And music to me is all math, and really filmmaking kind of has their own formulas as well. So I think I come at this business a little bit different than most people. I come at it from a number standpoint to inform the artistry and then allow the artistry to kind of come in at the end. But I look at the numbers and the formulas and, the rhythms and see how to get everything lined up and then make, like the last decisions. And that's kind of what like a quarterback has to do, right? You get up to the line, you've got the play, everything's all set, you're completely prepared, you've done this thing over and over and over again, hundreds of times in practice. You walk up and you see that the defense is doing something you've never seen before and you get to freestyle. And that's like how I look at what I do, kind of, we prep, we get to set. And then the actor on the other side of the, scene from me says something in a way I'd never heard before. And then we get to play. And that's, that's set hut. Now we're moving and freestyling, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, Bobby, I don't know if you saw last week, he's done with reality television, but you also were on reality television. You're on The Masked Singer. I don't know if you saw that. He went off, but you got to look it up if you didn't.
This is not about me.
Oh, that was awesome, by the way. Okay. But do you have a beef with reality television? But more importantly, talk to me about why you did Masked Singer. You finished second, right? You were incredible on it.
I did finish second to somebody that Bobby mentioned earlier in this interview. Vanessa Hudgens. We were competing in the same season together, and I should have known from the start that I wasn't going to get it. But at the end of the day, again, like I did it because for a long time Hollywood had rules and boundaries set up that if you wanted to be a film actor, you could be nothing but a film actor. If you were a film actor and then you went and did something on television, oh my God, you're not allowed to be in film anymore. If you were a television actor and you went and did like a run in a musical, oh my God, now you can't be a television actor anymore. And it was such an odd thing. So I came from a very musical background, and I came out to Hollywood and I still wanted to sing. And a lot of people were telling me, oh, that's cute. You did, musicals in New York, but now you're a television actor now. You got to be a television actor. And I had to kind of put that part away for a while. It was such a big part of my life growing up. And when they showed up and asked, at first I was definitely like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And then I was like, but wait, Meryl Streep's on a half hour on Hulu, and, people you never knew could sing are on Broadway doing so. It's like, it's such a cool world now where everybody's really allowed to do all of the things that they're good at. And it's applauded now, whereas it used to be kind of poo-pooed back in the day. As far as reality television, I'm a Survivor fan, have been ever since it came on, like to the point that I lived in Tokyo for a year singing and beatboxing, and my mom recorded Survivor Amazon on VHS and sent it to me so I could watch it when I was living in Japan. So massive fan of the kind of competition reality stuff, not all of it, But the stuff that has like real competitive elements, I am a fan of because I look at them as kind of like the world's greatest game shows. Like it's $1 million prize at the end of Survivor. That's a game show. So I kind of, I lay out on most of the other stuff, the housewives stuff, all that. The only show I do watch with my wife every week is Below Deck on Bravo. So got to give that one a shout out. But I'm not a huge fan of reality, but the experience of Masked Singer was really pretty freeing for me. And everybody does a show like that for different reasons, but that was really for me. And it's rare in this business. You get to do something for you. And that was my one.
Yeah, I did Dancing with the Stars because the network made me do it. Still, and then I won, and then people still kill me for it. That's what he's referring to. I have a hurt. I don't get to see my foot, but I tore my ankle recently, and I was on pain pills last week, and I melted down about Dancing with the Stars. So it is a whole issue, Scott. Hey, but
you won?
I did win. Yeah.
Hold on. Wow.
Yeah.
You've got like the golden crystal ball or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the mirror ball. I mailed it back.
He's sending it back.
Because I was pissed. I mailed it back. But I did win. I did win the show. But hey, give me your Mount Rushmore of, I'm going to do this double. Mount Rushmore of Denver Broncos all time, your favorite. And then I want non-Bronco Mount Rushmore as well. So it's 2 different sets of 4.
Oh man, you are really catching me here. All-time Mount Rushmore Denver Broncos players: Demarius, John Elway, TD, Steve Atwater.
That's a great list.
Wow. No.
Nailed it.
No McCaffrey.
No McCaffrey. But, I mean, Atwater, unbelievable.
But no Peyton.
No Peyton. But Peyton was only there for a few years.
But Peyton did win a Super Bowl. I'm not judging his list.
Here's what you guys got to understand as an 80s kid who is a Broncos fan. I don't think there's many of me around. I came up, I watched Elway's magic against the Browns, a couple of times, and I watched him take teams that were lower in talent level and go up against these NFC juggernauts, losing against the former Redskins, now Commanders, with Doug Williams, watching them get, crushed by the Giants and then get blown out 55-10 by the Niners in 1990. And Elway dragged those teams to Super Bowls and then finally got to in the late 90s. So anybody who's my age that's been around for this long, I think a lot of young fans are like, oh, Peyton's one of the greatest of all time. But when Elway retired, he led the league in wins. The one stat that matters more than anything else. He also led the league in fourth quarter or overtime comebacks when he retired. And that is just a will to win, man. And that's where like Bo gets little shades, little shades of that. A lot of fourth quarter comebacks for this little kid, for this younger guy, he's a long way off. But Elway, I don't think people understand how great Elway was. And his arm, oh my God. And the guy that I really struggle not putting up there, and if DT's not on there, is Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe's also on that Mount Rushmore for me. So if it's not DT, it's Shannon Sharpe, and that's the biggest decision point. That's why I took the pause in the beginning. But Atwater was he was the hardest hitter you've ever seen. TD came in and is in the Hall of Fame with a shortened career because they tore his knee up, and Elway, I don't think there's an argument there.
Do the non-Bronco 4. Non-Bronco 4.
Non-Bronco 4. It's got to be Brady. It's got to be Rice. And oh man, the league is so deep. It's been around for so long. Barry Sanders. I got to find somebody defensively, man. And it's really tough. You've got Dion, you've got Lawrence Taylor. LT changed the league completely. The reason left tackles get paid today is because of what Lawrence Taylor did. So I'm going to put LT on there. Lawrence Taylor, Barry Sanders, Jerry Rice, Tom Brady.
That's a solid.
That is a solid.
I'd have put Matt Castle on there, my favorite quarterback of all time.
That's right.
But you know what? Right. That's you. It's your own Mount Rushmore.
Your own Mount Rushmore. Yes. Do you actually get to get out to any games? Because that environment the Broncos Stadium at Mile High, there's not many places that you go and you're a little bit intimidated by, but
Did you play there?
Yes, played there multiple times because I used to play for the Chiefs, and every time we went there, I mean, that crowd gets after it. Great cheerleaders too.
We love it, man. I mean, I get to go to games, yeah. I get to go even more now that the Chargers are in LA as well. And I get to go to, one game a year where I live, which is kind of cool. But I go to Denver, and I still call it Mile High. I know it's got a bunch of other names, but it's still to me Mile High. But the coolest thing was 2 Thanksgivings ago, great game, Broncos Vikings Thanksgiving weekend, and I got to take my kids. My son is a Rams fan. He's come by it naturally through the pandemic. His favorite color was green. When he was 4, he thought he was an Eagles fan. Then he came to his senses when he was 5. Aaron Donald was his favorite player, 100%. He's seen the Rams win a Super Bowl. So, and my daughter is kind of split. And I asked them if they wanted to go, and they said, yeah, we went. We got to go down on the field. They got to meet Thunder, which is the horse's name. We got to see the flyover. We got to see guys parachute in. But the coolest thing about it is, and you can even hear it on radio calls, every time a quarterback throws an incomplete pass, the stadium announcer comes on and says, and the opposing quarterback's pass is, and the entire crowd yells, incomplete at the quarterback, which is so good. They have little metal stanchions down on over the cement. So when you stomp, that metal is hitting that concrete. It gets so loud. It gets so great. I mean, you played in one of the loudest stadiums that this world has ever seen in Arrowhead, but I like to think Mile High gives it a run for its money, and we love our franchise, especially the fans that came up with Pat Bowlen, who's maybe, he should be on Mount Rushmore. Pat Bowlen is the greatest Bronco of all time because what he did as an owner for so long, I mean, set the record for consecutive playoff appearances by a franchise, made all the right moves, made great coaching hires, really loved and knew the sport of football. So, I think we respect him so much, and we were just, I think we have a really solid fan base because we had owners who cared and we had players who would fight for them. And it's a pretty cool club to be a part of.
Final question. Greatest in-person game you've ever been to?
My wife would tell you it was the Big 12 championship where Sue and Dominican Sue almost single-handedly destroyed Texas, and Colt McCoy threw a ball out of bounds, and somehow there was still 1 second left on the clock, and then they kick a field goal to beat us. That was one of the greatest games I've ever been to, even though the Huskers came out on the wrong side of it. But man, let's see. Probably, and it doesn't involve my team. I mean, I should say Super Bowl 50. Defensive battle. I was there in Santa Clara. I watched a very similar performance by the Broncos defense, shut Cam Newton down and actually get the win. That was, I should say that, but I was in the end zone as Plaxico Burress caught a touchdown to beat the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl in Arizona.
Dang.
Dang, I was there too.
He was there too.
I mean, even as a guy, like as a Broncos fan at Super Bowl 50, but as just a fan overall, like the magnitude of that game and the plays that happened in it, the Tyree catch, and I mean, just so much happened in that game. It was insane. So
it's funny to hear two different perspectives on that game.
Yeah, that one hurt. That one hurt for sure. I was right there witnessing the same thing going. It's from such a different perspective point. How the F did he catch that ball?
Scott Porter knows ball. That's awesome. Hey, Scott, congratulations, man. I know you're in the middle of filming Jenny and Georgia now, but congratulations on it and just everything. It's really cool. And it was fun to talk to you because, again, we tiptoe when we have actors on because we don't know if they actually know anything about ball. So thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. And what a year for the Broncos, man. I hope for your sake, I hope they continue to perform well.
Yeah, man, I do too. Broncos country, stand up. We're gonna stick by our team, but let's do this again sometime. We'll actually jump in and talk a little bit of deeper football or whatever sport, But I appreciate you guys having me on. We finish up season 4 here soon, so the fans We'll hopefully settle down. Jenny and Georgia, season 4.
Well, they told us not to ask. They told us not to ask about it at all. So they said, don't ask about.
He's not
Jenny.
saying anything.
Yeah. So we just said, hey, we know you're shooting it. So when it's done, come back and we'll talk. That way that we've cleared all the life questions. We'll just talk ball.
Yeah.
He's into
Let's
that.
do it.
All right, Scott. Good to see you, buddy.
Definitely into that.
Thanks,
all right,
Scott.
good to see y'all. Take it easy.
All right, it is time for the weekend preview presented by DraftKings. From first touchdown scores to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. Let's look at the 3 biggest matchups coming up this week. I think, well, it's all fun because it's Thanksgiving pretty much, except for the Black Friday game. If we're looking ahead, I think it's super fun because 2 of these are on Thanksgiving and one's the Black Friday game. And we'll start with Chiefs at Cowboys. Both teams coming off a massive win. Both teams needing another win. I think they both could probably lose a game. The Cowboys really can't afford to lose a game. The Chiefs can probably lose one more and be fine to go to the playoffs. But I think the loser of this game is kind of eliminated from can they make the playoff talk. I think the Chiefs win that game, but I thought the Chiefs were going to win every single game for the past season. Packers at Lions. We're going to go with the Packers going to the Lions. I think the Packers starting to come into form a little bit. They had a bit of, it just kind of depends on, with every season, there's always 2 or 3 weeks for pretty much every team where they kind of suck. I think right now the Bucs are going through that, and who knows what's going to happen with Baker. But I think the Packers already had theirs. I'm going with the Packers over the Lions. And Bears at Eagles, that's so interesting because the Eagles need a win. That's Black Friday. The Bears, they can actually afford to lose. If I'm the Bears, I don't want to play the Eagles this week coming off a loss because the Bears have been getting by the hair of their chinny chin chin every single week. They are, 8-2?
8-3.
8-3?
Both teams.
They are 8-3, but they're in 8-3 again. They've been barely squirting by, and the Eagles are coming in probably angry. So I'm taking the Eagles, and they are in Philly on Black Friday. That was the weekend preview presented by DraftKings. When touchdowns happen, we feast. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code TUSAY, as in our show, Lots to Say. That's the code TUSAY. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your team wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Now we're going to go over and talk with John Madden's longtime agent, Sandy Montag. Sandy has represented some of the biggest names in sports over the years, like Bob Costas, Jim Nantz, Mike Tirico, Scott Van Pelt, and many more. Big thanks to Sandy for joining us as the NFL continues to celebrate and honor the late John Madden with their 4th annual John Madden Thanksgiving celebration tomorrow. And with that being said, here he is, Sandy Montag. Hey, Sandy, it's Bobby here. How are you?
Hey, Bobby, how you doing?
Pretty good. Where are you right now? You look like you're up tall in the building.
I am in New York City at our offices near the World Trade Center site.
Man, I love New York except for, starting about December because I don't like the cold. Do you get out of there when it gets cold, Sandy, or do you stay and just eat it?
Both. You have to, we're based here, so you got to eat a little bit of it. I do have a place in Miami that I like Miami better in the winter, but I'm born and raised in New York, went to school in Syracuse, so you just figure it out.
Yeah, your blood's probably used to it a little more than mine. And, I was reading a lot about your life and your history as we're going to talk about John Madden a little bit. But when you leave Syracuse, how long until you actually meet John?
I was on the Madden Summer Roll crew. I was a stats guy at Syracuse besides going to school once in a while. So I did when ESPN came up to do the biggest game of the week, I did stats for the talent. And then when I got out, I got on the Madden Summer Roll crew, doing stats in the truck. And then maybe 2 months into that, someone says, hey, Madden needs someone to travel with them by train. You should talk to him. And I said, all right, so I met with them and told them I love trains. I'd never been on a train in my life and got the job.
And so, we've heard the story forever about how he did not like to fly. Can you lend to that a little? Because it sounds like it was true, but he just would not want to fly for any reason whatsoever.
Well, he flew when he coached the Raiders. they chartered, and they chartered, I think, DC-10's pretty big airplane. He was never a great flyer, but he did it. You know, when you fly private or when you fly in charters, you can move around. He sat with the pilots. Then when he started doing broadcasting, you know, you sit in, even if it's first class, you're in seat 4B and you're locked in, and he just started having panic attacks. And he didn't know, he went to a doctor, like, is there something wrong with me? And so he had claustrophobia, you know, and he didn't like, when he would stay at hotels, he wouldn't like going, you know, we're on the 20th floor here, would not come up to this office. He would always want to be like the only person in an elevator. So he didn't have a fear of flying. He had claustrophobia.
And the relationship developed between you guys. What do you think it was about your personalities that matched?
You know, I was pretty street smart, and he was the smartest person that I ever met in any subject, not just football. And I think that, you know, we just hit it off. Like, I liked traveling. I liked seeing the country on trains. I liked talking to people. He would talk to strangers for hours. You know, we just had just a fascination over different things, really. And, you know, deal making was kind of like growing up. I always had a newspaper route or bagels or selling T-shirts, or I just always was selling stuff. And I think he liked the business acumen. We just kind of bonded over certain things early on, you know, just as guys.
You mentioned how smart he was, and for me, in my mind, I can picture a few different things, but they're all larger than life, so they don't seem like a real person, meaning I can see the videos. I wasn't obviously alive when he was coaching the Raiders, but I can see the videos of that. I remember him in the booth, and Summerall was an Arkansas guy. I'm from Arkansas, so we were always like super proud that happened, and then I can see him, you know, as part of the video game, which I've had every single year since it has been out. Like, that has been a massive part of my life. So I don't know. You say he was really smart. Was he extremely studious?
No, but he read a lot. He was a student of history. All types of history, you know, whether it's football history, whether it's American history. You know, he loved John Steinbeck, Travels with Charlie. You know, when we would travel the country, he would like to go into small towns. He wouldn't want to go to, you know, a chain up on Highway 80. It's just always just like very inquisitive, you know, and there were a lot of times, like, you know, when I started traveling with him, I was 22, you know, and then I was meeting people, maybe dating, and he would tell me, no, these are the type of people you should be dating. And he would just have an opinion about everything. You know, he you know, it's like a master psychologist in a way. And that's really, you know, he studied that too. So and throughout my life, you know, when I had a problem or a question, or you come to a fork in the road, I would ask him something, and like, I hang up the phone. I'm like, well, why didn't I think of that? He just knew a little bit about everything.
How would you prepare on the train for the games that you were going to cover?
Well, back in the day, he was the first broadcaster to go to practice, number one. So when he became a broadcaster in 1980, broadcasters, basically what you did, you get in the night before, you meet with the PR director for the NFL teams, and you do the game. And he was like, well, when are we going to practice? We're like, we don't go to practice. They're not going to let us in. He goes, no, I'm going to get in a day early. I'm going to practice. All right, go to practice. So now it's every broadcaster in every sport goes to practice. You also get game tape. Now it's sent on on the internet, or back then I carried a 60-pound Bell and Howell projector where teams would send us the game tape, and we would watch that, whether it's on the train or whether it's when we got to the city we're going to. And, you know, John was a student of watching film. And even like on the Saturday before the game in the production meeting, myself, Pat Summerall, producer, director, John, we would watch hours of game tape. And, you know, Summerall probably was good for the first 45 minutes to an hour. And then a lot of times he'd say, I think we have this. And John would kind of look at him, we're only halfway. So John was over prepared. Like he wanted to feel when he was doing a game in his mind, he knew more about those two teams than any two people besides the coaches, and he wanted to feel that.
When was the graduation from the train to the bus that I think about when I think about the traveling?
So we did a couple of years. I did a couple of years on the train, and then he had to be somewhere fast. So CBS chartered him a bus. It was Dolly Parton's bus. And he took it and basically got off that thing and said, we need to get a bus. So he did an interview actually on PBS saying, we're going to look at, and the president of Greyhound Lines in 87 contacted us and said, heard John's looking for a bus. We want to give him a bus. And that really started the first Madden cruise, and really one of the first, when I transitioned from gopher to quote unquote agent, that was really one of the first deals I did. Number one, we lucked into a computer game, which we had no idea what it was or where it was going. And then the bus. And then that changed his life, really. Coast to coast Amtrak is 72 hours. You have to change trains in Chicago. He could now go coast to coast in 50 hours, nonstop, sleep, satellite television. The whole it's like having a private plane that went 70 miles an hour.
You talk about the Madden game. That, to me, is the game I've by far played more than any game in my entire life. I've had every year of it since its existence. You say you guys didn't know what you were getting into. What do you mean by that?
Well, EA, which was Electronic Arts, was founded by the guy by the name of Trip Hawkins. He went to Harvard, designed his own major, applied game theory. He had a basketball game. He had a Larry Bird, Dr. J basketball. He had an Earl Weaver baseball, and he approached us and said, "Hey, we want to do a football game and call it John Madden football." And John was like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." So he came for a train ride, kind of explained what it is and how they're doing it, and it came out on computers, on Apple computers. And the problem back then with computer memory, you could only have eight on 8. So they didn't have enough computer memory to have 22 players. And John said, I'm not putting my name on a game unless it's authentic. And so we thought, this guy will go away. It took 2 years really for them to figure the technology part of it out. But we never really had the confidence that this was going anywhere. We're talking late 80s. So there was no video games as we know it now. And we both, they wanted to give him money and put his name on it. And we just wanted to be more involved in it, really. And, I remember us talking, saying we should really ask for like $1 or $2 a game. And he's like, it doesn't make a difference. They're never going to sell one. And, 150 million units later, it kind of worked. But, at the time, we just didn't think it would ever come out.
There are just so many elements of popular culture that reflect John Madden's influence. If it's SNL, when they would do sketches, and if it's drawing on the screen, even outside of SNL, if it's the video game. When, for you guys, did you start to realize that he was being known as just more than a broadcaster?
Well, he did a Miller Lite commercial in the early 80s. That was number one. The bus, he teamed with Pat Summerall. The bus kind of became a thing. And I think the video game came out in 1989. And I think it was wildly successful early on. And I think, right around the early 90s, to me, it just became like during that time, John and Michael Jordan were the two biggest things in advertising. We were getting offers, Ace Hardware, Tenactin, Diet Coke. It just, at that time, we started like, I was busy. The phone was ringing. Something's going on here, and the thing about him, though, like he never took himself seriously. Like when there may have been articles on like the branding of John Madden, and he's like, what are they talking about? I'm a football coach, and I think he was so authentic, but I think in our world, he was larger than life. And I think the video game and I think the popularity of football on television really changed that. And then you have Rupert Murdoch getting into taking the NFL from CBS, John moving over to Fox in 1994. That was big too. That was huge, Fox getting into the business. So I think early 90s was a time where I think he started to become larger than life.
Was that a hard decision for you guys to switch networks?
No. There's about 8 million reasons why we wanted to go there. But it was just one of those things where, look, CBS loses it, right? So we have to go somewhere, and there was ABC was interested in going, Monday Night Football. And, I've told the story before, but basically Rupert Murdoch calls me and Barry Frank, who was my boss at IMG, and says, give me a number for John Madden. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. And we gave him a number. He didn't call back. A CFO called back within 5 minutes and said, what's the address for the contract? So it was just like Rupert Murdoch. It's not like, it's playing poker at a different level, really. But I remember him telling me before John did the first preseason game in the summer of 94 for Fox, Rupert said they earned back his entire 4-year contract already in the amount of advertising they sold.
Wow. Was it, or how comfortable or uncomfortable was it? Because you come on with John and you are so much of an underling, and now you're representing him, and you're his tentacles outside talking to everyone. How did that relationship mature? And was it so much easier for you guys to trust each other because of all those years you had invested in each other on the train and on the bus?
Well, he didn't want me to leave the road. I did, I think 2 years on the bus. I think I traveled with him for 3 or 4 years. And then Super Bowl, maybe it was a Super Bowl in 89. I said, hey, I had met someone, number one. And I was starting to represent, 1 or 2 other people real. And I said, look, I want to get someone else to go on the bus with you. I want to stay in our offices at IMG in New York. And we had an argument about it, but we had a real emotional conversation about it that, he said, you're never going to amount to anything having your feet up on a desk in New York eating a bagel. He said, if you're going to be successful, you got to get out there on the road. You have to meet people. You have to, and even to this day, I go to a lot of games and I see clients who are broadcasters or GMs or executives, coaches. And, I think he instilled in me, like, to be successful in this business, you can't just do it in an office. So it was a hard thing. It worked. We found someone else to do the road job, but, our relationship was deep enough where he trusted me. And I made a point I still probably went to a half a dozen games of his each year. So, it worked, but I couldn't really. And, Mark McCormack founded IMG, and I really had something going at IMG, and I really couldn't further that career always being in Lincoln, Nebraska.
How much did it matter to you that John made the Hall of Fame?
He said to me, besides his kids being born, it was the happiest day of his life. We were there in Detroit when, they announced it on the Saturday before, and it was on NFL Network. And, they announced the names. There were 6 people that year. 5, it's just his name. And it was just like euphoria in that room. There were maybe half a dozen of us, Fred Godelli, John's son, Mike, Al Michaels. And, a lot of tears. It was, he wanted to go in as a coach, not as a contributor or as a broadcaster. He was 108-32. That's the highest winning percentage of any coach who's coached 100 games. And, it was a long time coming. That was 2006. He coached his last game in 1979. 32 losses in 10 years. I mean, he should have been in the Hall of Fame earlier, but it was, for him, it made it all worthwhile. And he went back every year after that just to be part of the ceremony. We donated the original Madden Cruiser to the Hall of Fame, so underprivileged kids in the Midwest can, come to the Hall of Fame and learn about football history. There's a broadcasting wing there named for him. It's just, that and the Super Bowl win, Super Bowl 11, are the two biggest professional accomplishments for him. 16 Emmys he could care about.
We actually work for the NFL. This is an NFL podcast. It's a property of NFL. And so, with the NFL and Madden and Thanksgiving and that relationship and that celebration, how did that get started? Like, what were the strings, and like, what's the goal of it?
Well, first, when John retired in 08-09, and I got the sense he was just not enjoying traveling as much. He missed his grandkids and all that. And, his wife called me and said, look, I don't know what you have planned, but I didn't sign up for this retirement thing. So you got to keep him find something to do. I had a conversation with Commissioner Goodell about, and they have become friends. And I said, let's find a role for John within the NFL where he can have a meaningful, relationship and also do some meaningful work. So he became a special advisor to Roger and also co-chaired the player safety committee, which reported to the competition committee. So he was engaged for a decade. And then, look, he passed. It'll be 4 years next month. And, Roger was one of the first people I called. I thought the NFL should announce this, really. And, then we kind of, Roger he formed a small committee to say, all right, we want to honor John in some way. What should we do? And, the committee all agreed. John loved Thanksgiving. It was his favorite holiday. There are six-legged turkeys and turducken and all. He loved Thanksgiving. He loved being at a game, whether it's Detroit or Dallas. He loved it. And I think he became part of America on that day. And we all agreed that, we need to honor him on Thanksgiving. And, the commissioner and the teams that are playing, basically agreed with that. And there'll be, his name will be on all three fields that are playing that day. There'll be a special coin, which I could probably show you. I just got a copy of it, which will be, flipped with his head and a turducken on the tail. And there'll be a player of the game. And, I think he's probably looking down saying, you guys got it right. If you're going to honor me, this is the way I want to be honored on Thanksgiving. And I think, I think we did get it right. And it just feels like Madden.
Sandy, I really appreciate the generosity coming on with me, giving me 20, 25 minutes to talk about John. And I'm a massive fan of just all that you've done in many capacities, but to be able to spend this time and just talk about John means a lot. So thank you for your time. I hope you have a great...
I just want to show you the coin.
Oh, let me see. I didn't want to make you get up.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so these are the coins that will be
oh, that's cool.
Flipped on Thanksgiving Day. All three. Those are three different ones with the teams that are playing. So it's going to be real cool. And it was great being with you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too, Sandy. Have a great day, man. Thank you very much.
Take care.
All right, before we go, I've adjusted my power rankings for the week. We are still sitting with the Rams at number 1. The Eagles fell from their loss with the Cowboys. We'll hear more from them in a second. I do have the Broncos at number 2, even though, again, they've been winning barely. And I got the Chiefs now at number 3 at 6-5. That's right. They were number 4 last week, but I've got the Chiefs now sitting right in that 3rd spot with a record of 6-5. I got the Eagles at 4th with 8-3. And your Pats?
Oh,
I'm leaving them. They're not there for them. What are they, 10-2?
Yep.
They're 5th. I'm not letting them jump over the Eagles quite yet.
Okay.
The Eagles did lose. What'd the Pats do? Beat the Bengals?
Yeah, but it was a tough, gritty win. Doesn't that count?
It shouldn't have been a tough, gritty win. Drake May's never thrown for 300 yards.
I didn't. Yeah, when they said that on the broadcast, that actually surprised me.
It surprised me too. The Colts were on deck last week. They're still on deck. So I did think it was a pretty good look for the Colts in a loss, meaning they did go to to Kansas City and lose a close game. They played their freaking faces off. So not a lot has changed, except the Chiefs are exactly who I said they were. Everybody giving up on them. I'm not even a Chiefs fan. I don't know why I defend them so much. Okay, that's what's up. Thank you guys for being here. Hope you have an awesome holiday. And thanks to our guests. And thanks. That's Matt Castle. That's Kickoff Kevin. That's Brandon Ray. I'm Bobby Bones. We've had lots to say. Goodbye, everybody.